checking the four corners to make sure that everything is squared up. I can always adjust it if need be before I weld it up completely. Measuring for squareness on both ends, and the corner to corner part gives you an idea if it's square or both numbers are identical. Perfect. Now do the middle ones. The center ones have to be aligned just as good. If one or more of them is off at all, they'll fight each other and bind. And I'm tacking two straps along the top to join them together, because in order to see if this is going to open properly, the bottom rails have to be joined and the top rails have to be joined also. I find that in welding, when flowing a bead, it's very meditative and quite therapeutic. Well, the moment of truth, I have that end clamped down. I'm not going to come all the way out. I mean, I don't want to tip the whole thing over. This thing's quite heavy. Undo the, oh, let's see. Any binding? There doesn't appear to be. I am all the way out. Cool. Cool. And back in. It locks in that position and locked. Nifty. Well, all of the welding is done. You didn't see a lot of it because I wanted to get it finished before I went in, and here it is like about 5 o'clock in the evening. So I've got that clamped on the other end, and never said my welds were pretty. As a matter of fact, in other videos, I have said that they're not pretty. They do hold, though, okay? There's good penetration. I just don't flow a good bead. I am a recreational welder. And I was thinking of painting this, but I'm realizing now that I'd have to take it all apart. I mean, all the drawer slides and everything, and they're lined up, and this thing is really heavy. Even if I separate it into a top half and a bottom half, it is really heavy. So I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to clean it up a bit and finish putting the bolts in the drawer slides, because I only put in a few to hold it for now, and finish it up with the wood and some trim and all those things I was going to do, and leave it at that. Yep, that's what I think I'm going to do. Well, I've got a couple dozen bolts to put in here and tighten with lock washers. So I'll get to that. It's going to be a lot of work, or a lot of time. Now, when this thing slides out, I've got to have a way for it to stop. And the only place I'm interested in that is when I slide this out over the tailgate. So that makes it so I can put longer wood or a sheet of plywood in, and the end is supported, and I can strap it down. And I have these, if you can see it, these tailgate locks that have good springs in them, and they turn, and then when you twist them, the spring goes, the big spring in there, the spring goes back in. So I am going to be mounting this to the underside of the drawer, and I need a stop right here for that. I could put a little piece of metal, but it has to be pretty thin, pretty shallow, because this bolt needs to be pulled out to clear it. So I think I'm going to weld a short piece right here and then just cut it off. So this will be the stop when this comes out. I've got the top piece of OSB all lined up. My holes are drilled in the strapping going across this, so I've got to go underneath to drill this from the holes that are already in the metal so they'll line up. Well, this is pretty ugly right now with this OSB on it. It's all bolted on. I have yet to go around and put the edging underneath because I have to screw through the top, so I can't do anything. But I do have this over here. This looks like a rubber diamond plate, but it's actually, ooh, it smells. It's actually PVC, so it's pretty tough stuff. Tougher than rubber, probably not as tough as neoprene, but you balance the price with the product. And this was about $48, or 7 feet of it by 48 inches wide. This is going to be laid on with silicone. Normally I would do something like this with contact cement, but once you touch the two surfaces together, that's it. And I'm going to need to be able to move this around a little bit. I don't know if I can roll it on perfectly square or without bubbles, but with silicone, it'll dry. Silicone sticks pretty good, and I'll be able to work it for a little while and then let it dry for a few hours or overnight. This is going to look really nice. So, I've had it for the day. It's only about 3 o'clock, but I've been up and down underneath this thing, putting bolts on. I've been tugging it around. I put it in the truck once, pulled it out. The thing weighs about 200 pounds. I had ChatGPT look at all of the materials with all the dimensions, and they came up with, when I'm done, with 233 pounds. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it certainly feels that way when I'm hefting it around. So tomorrow's another day, do a little woodwork, glue this on, let it dry, and we'll call it done. I was going to cover this up in case it rained, but I guess I can just leave this on. I mean, it's waterproof. What the heck? See you tomorrow. Okay, what I'm wanting to do is to mount these trailer stops on this metal plate so I can screw it to the underside of the carriage. I've got the Rambo thing on because it's about 95% humidity and it was warm today. It's still warm moving around. I've got 2.5 tubes of silicone on, and I used it all up. I figured, you know, it doesn't really keep that good anyway if I don't use it that much. But I have thick beads on the ends and then a lot thinner in the middle, and it's all over here. There are several tracks of it. So the edges get a thick bead and the middle gets a thinner bead, because I have to be able to flatten this out. And this stuff will withstand some pressure. You gotta really push down if the bead's thick. Let's see, what will cut this? Well, I guess a razor knife does. Okay, I'm kind of one step ahead of you. I got the cedar boards and I'm starting to put them along the sides. And what I've done, let me see here if you can see that, is I've made a rabbet in here so that when I put it over the edge, the top goes over the edge to hold the PVC liner on the top down, and also it'll screw in this way. And I'm going to be good, and I am going to be using a countersink to try to make some neat holes on here. I tend to do things a little overkill. These are rated, it says right on here, at 2,000 pounds. And they're really nice, really heavy. I have them bolted here. These two bolts go down through the piece of 2x4 that I put along the edge, and these just go through the top, the OSB top. Never planning on putting that much strain on them, but I do have some nice ratchet straps that will be used if I'm carrying something like lumber. Now to do the other three. All of the tie downs are installed, and I went back to my metal supplier and I scored this beautiful piece of 3/16 aluminum, 3 inches wide. And as soon as I notch this to fit these, it's going to go right on here. And it's going to be both my pull bar and a decorative edge for this that'll show, and it'll hide all of this on the end. That's going to be great. Got this all cut and drilled, and what I'm going to be using is these pocket hole screws. Probably not the best choice, and I can replace them later on, but right now it's what I've got. Well, that's nice. I can't believe it. I'm down to assembling the last piece on this thing. The big part will be coming to wrestle it into the bed of the truck, and then lining up the hole for the bed bolt that I have in there, and then adding some other hold downs for it. But this is what we've got here. On the end of this is the front end that'll be in the head of the bed, truck bed. You know, you've got to put something here, because if you don't, all your soup cans and nuts and bolts or whatever's in here, sticks, will fill up this area. You'll always be cleaning it out. So I've got this piece, but instead of just screwing it on and being done with it, I need it removable. And the reason that I need it removable is that when I have 8-foot pieces of wood, I can put them in, put the tailgate down, they'll hang out about 1.5 feet off the end of this bed drawer, and that's fine. But if I have a 12-footer, or even maybe a 14 or 16-footer, this is 6.5 feet, so an awful lot of it's hanging off the end. So slide this out maybe 3 feet, and there's a lot of truck bed that's now holding up the ends of the boards. But when you do that, you slide it out, the front of the truck is out here, and if this is in the way, how can you slide the boards forward? So you still have way too much sticking off the end of the truck. So I need to be able to remove this so I can slide the boards up this way. Now this doesn't happen too much, but when it does, it can be a real problem. So this is what I'm planning on doing. First of all, I have this 1-inch piece of flat bar. It's going to go right here, and it's going to be screwed down in a few places. And then I have this that will go on top of it. And what I'm going to do is put 2 bolts in here, and then cut the heads off, one here and one here, and I'm going to have holes in here and here so that I can slide those bolts into here. It's not a really tight connection, but it'll be tight enough, and it'll definitely stay, because the bolt's going to go down about that much. It's going to be in the wood this much, and that much of it's going down through the drawer. The reason for the metal strip, 2 reasons. One, to hold this edge down, just like I had the aluminum on the other end, and I have the rabbited sides of this here. But also, by drilling through this metal to put these bolts going through here, this metal will be a much more rigid structure than if I just put it through the wood, which will kind of wear out after a while. Moving it into the truck took so much longer than you actually see here. Here I am sitting in the drawer in the front of the truck, and I have 3 holes drilled, and as you can see, there's a 1/4-inch exploding rivet on this one. This one isn't quite in, and I won't be putting this one anytime soon. So what's happened is my rivet gun decided to give up the ghost after 1 rivet. These are 1/4-inch rivets, and these are at the limit of the gun's capability, but it's a bad time. I got 1 rivet in anyway, and I've got that that one bed bolt that I was able to get loose, I have yet to tighten up. So that'll have to do for right now, but I'm gonna have to get another rivet gun. Here is the one bolt that I managed to get loose enough to put in here. It's completed and installed. Took me an hour to wrestle it in because it is quite heavy and creates a lot of drag when you're trying to put it in. The drawer slides really good. It is heavy, and the order of 235 pounds total. I put all of the materials and all of the dimensions in ChatGPT, and he came up, or it came up, with 235 pounds and some change. So it is quite heavy. I could have made it lighter, and this is how it could have been done. One, I could have used a 1/2-inch plywood on the top, which would have been much lighter than the 3/4 inch OSB. OSB is heavy in itself, then it was 3/4 inch, but I had it left over from the previous drawer, and I figured I saved myself 40, 50 bucks at least by doing that. Also, the original design I had with 2 drawer slides, one on each side. And you could still do that, and I was going to put some 1.5-inch angle iron across the top so it would be, solid. I decided that I wanted to put another drawer slide in the center and put flat bar going across, which would have been strong, particularly with that center support. But you can only order these drawer slides in pairs. So I had 4. So I thought, oh, what the heck? I have 4. I'll put 4 in. I'll probably won't have any other use for a 60-inch drawer slide. But each one of the rail and slide mounting unit, each unit is about 35 pounds. So by adding those 2, I added 70 pounds to this. If I had just used one, it would have only added 35 pounds to it. But it could be 70 pounds less without those 2, and it could probably be a few pounds less with 1/2-inch plywood on the top. So we're up in the 235 pound range. Now that means that even though the drawers slide really good, because these are very heavy duty drawer slides, and there are 4 of them, so total they technically add up to 1,000 pounds of support. I don't know if it actually comes to that, the reality of it, but this is heavy. The top part was probably about 130, 40 pounds in the top half that slides. So that, yes, it slides easy, but you got to get it moving. I mean, a car rolls on wheels, but if you want to push it, you have to get it going. It's called inertia. So when you pull this out, you got to lean back and pull smooth, but it takes a little oomph to do it. And the same thing putting it back in. Now, what about the cost of this? Well, I added up all of the materials. I put in the nuts and bolts and everything. Even the wood, which I had, the base layer, I added, what it would have cost if I had gone and bought it, which I did originally at one time. And this piece of aluminum added a little cost to it also. So the price for this entire thing, with all the slides and the wood and the angle iron and the metal and the bolts and the rubber mat on the top, everything, came to about $510. I'm sure that's off by maybe $10 either way, because I had a hard time keeping track of the multiple trips for bolts and things, and you know how expensive those can be. Expensive, yes, but I looked up to buy one, which I was originally considering, thinking, well, why not buy one? They're pretty nice. And something that had a 1,000 pound weight limit, or 500 to 1,000 pounds, and that you could buy and install yourself. The lowest price one I found was $1,000, but I don't think that's one that I would have wanted. Most of them go between $1,500 and $2,000, which surprised me. I was thinking, well, maybe for $500-600 I can pick one up. No, those are maybe some plastic ones. But so this it would have cost me double to triple what I paid for this in materials. Well, that's the end of this video. There was a part 1. I hope you saw that if you're at this point, because it was quite a build. It was an extensive build. This was a logistical thing, trying to get things lined up. So thank you for watching. If you want to hit the like button and possibly subscribe, it helps the algorithm that YouTube has. And yes, I do make a little bit of money to pay for some of this stuff. It's not much, but it helps a little bit, and you gotta have subscribers to do that. You gotta have viewers. So if you should decide to do this, or make the wooden one that you saw taken out in the first video, I wish you luck. And it can be done by an old guy who is a recreational welder and just thinks a lot about this stuff.